So the other week, a few weeks ago, I went to my cousin's dance recital. She had a dance recital with, it was titled K&K Dance. And, for years, she had always been inviting me out, to come out and speak, but whatever the situation was, I was never able to get out there, and really speak. But, times changed, and, somehow, I was able to speak recently. And, she was telling me that, she wanted me to do something inspirational for the kids and for the young adults. She said, they got too many negative influences out here. All they do is watch TV, and they, all they see is guns, and it's just too much violence and stuff like that out here. So, I said, okay, yeah, I'm cool with it. I told her I would do it. So I went around and, I started driving. And the first thought that came to mind was, well, I'll speak on dreams. And then the next thing that came to mind was, I would speak on faith. But while I was thinking of dreams, I thought about a scripture that came to mind in the Bible. The scripture that said, before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. And I kept thinking about that scripture. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I set you apart. And then I thought about that. And what came to mind was, I felt like each one of us are special and divine in our own way. We all have our own DNA. We all have our own gifts and genetics, and our own kind of things that make us great. But with God giving us those things, I felt like we all have an assignment on our life. We all have a plan. We all have a purpose. And I said, one of the things that, I don't know what your personal assignment with God is, but one of the things I feel like all of our assignment is to leave this world in a better way than we found it. We can wake up one day, touch one kid, touch a young adult, show them a different side of things other than this street life. Then one by one, we can build this world up into a better place. But while thinking of dreams, I was telling them that, whatever it is you want to be in life, you first notice your calling by two ways. One of the ways is by something speaking to your heart. By something speaking to your soul. Whatever it is that's speaking to you, that makes you pause in the middle of your day, that makes you stop everything you're doing, that make you think about it. Whatever that is speaking to you, you got to pay attention to that. You got to pay attention to that. Because that's God speaking to you. And then the other thing is, you got to see it. After it speaks to you, you got to see it. But, it happens almost simultaneously. Like, if you can't envision it, it can't happen. Anything you want in life, if you can't picture yourself having it, it won't come true. You have to picture these things for them to come into fruition. And so while I was thinking about that, I thought about the story of Kobe Bryant and how he made it to the NBA. In 1996, Kobe Bryant was the first shooting guard from high school to make it to the NBA. Right? But when he came out of high school, The team that drafted him was the Charlotte Hornets. And Kobe didn't want to play for him. He didn't want to play for him. Years passed. You know, because Kobe went to the Lakers. They traded, the Hornets traded Kobe to the Lakers, and they got Vlade Divac in return. But years later, you know, after he won his first championship, and after he had, you know, a couple all-star appearances, somebody asked him, they said, you know, when you were coming out of high school, why didn't you want to play for the Charlotte Hornets? And he said, it's real simple. He said, when I was growing up, when I was a little kid, and I was shooting hoops, and I was out there on the basketball court or on the playground, and I was out there hours and hours at a time. He said, the Hornets, that wasn't my vision. My vision was playing for the Lakers. My vision was championships. My vision was yellow and gold. My vision was purple. Like, the Charlotte Hornets wasn't in my vision. And I wasn't willing to sell myself short just because they drafted me. I had to hold on to the vision that God sent to me. I had to hold on to what was speaking to my heart. I had to hold on to what I seen for it to come true. And because I held on to it for it to become true, everything else that happened after that came into fruition. Everything that happened after that happened the way it was supposed to. But it only happened that way was because I heard the voice speaking to me, and I held on to the vision that God sent me. And the other thing that's very important is having faith. Anything you do, anything you want to be in life, if you don't have faith the size of a mustard seed, you're not going to accomplish much. There are going to be some times in your life you're going to get hit with a roadblock and you're not going to know where to go. There's going to be some times in your life where people are going to give up on you. There are going to be some times in your life where they're going to leave your corner as soon as somebody else is crowned champion. You're going to have some times in your life where you ain't prepared for certain thunderstorms at the end of your life. And the only thing that's going to get you out of all these troubles is having your faith. Having faith the size of a mustard seed. And let me tell you how important having faith is. The other night, I was reading a story about a young lady who had cancer, right? And this young lady, she had went to the doctor. And when she went to the doctor, they pulled her in one of those little, they pulled her in one of those small rooms. And while she was sitting in the room, but she was sitting in there for a long time. Like they left her in there for like 45 minutes. And when they got you in there for 45 minutes, normally they coming out with bad news. They trying to figure out how to tell you. So finally, the doctor comes out and he says to the young lady, he says, "Ma'am, unfortunately, I have some bad news to tell you." And he says, as your primary doctor, I'm required to give you the truth. I'm required to be honest with you. And after looking at your blood work, we've determined that you only have about a timeline of 6 months to live. Somebody tell you that you only got 6 months to live. What is your first reaction? What is your first thought? You ain't got, you thinking about, the people you need to say, your last I love yous to. You thinking about things you ain't done. You thinking about people you gonna miss. That's the normal person's reaction. But this lady, that wasn't her reaction. She was built up off faith. That wasn't her. She smiled. She looked at the doctor and she said, "I don't care what my blood cells tell you. She said, I don't care what your machines say. She said, I already had a talk with God, and God already told me that I will be okay. And then she grabbed the purse. She smiled again, and then she left. 2 weeks later, she packed up all her belongings and she moved further in the inner city. You know, she wanted to get it out, like she wanted to get out the area. She wanted to go around some better, some better energy. She wanted to go around, some better positivity. So she moved her family to the inner city. And then one of the things she started doing, she fell back in love with one of her passions. She had a thing for doing music. Even when she was a little child, she always loved doing music and playing music on the piano and everything. And, when she, got older, life happened. She had kids, she became a mother, and she had to make certain sacrifices. Some things had to fall to the wayside. So she got back to what made her happy as a child. She went back to her childhood. She started doing music. And aside from, being around some better energy, and aside from doing music, she also took time to help babies that were born with AIDS. And while she was doing all this, while she was sowing all these good seeds, while she was being a blessing to a whole bunch of people and a whole bunch of kids that she did not know, a miracle was taking place. Something was happening. And so a few months later after that, she goes back to the same doctor for her final checkup. And she sits in the same room. Well, this time, the doctor don't take 45 minutes to come out. He don't take 45 minutes. He take about 10. And so he comes out and he says, well, ma'am, I have some good news. We've been looking at, your blood work again. We did a final analysis, and your cancer is completely in remission. It was a miracle. Did something change? Did you do something different? And the young lady, she looked at the doctor and she said, a few months ago, when you told me that, my reply to you was, I had already talked to God about it. And God told me that I was going to be okay. She said, I know you required to give me the truth as my primary doctor. She said, but I carry the faith of a mustard seed with me, and I can't be wavered by any obstacle coming my way, because that's how much I believe in God. She said, so what you didn't understand was when you were telling me that I only had 6 months to live, God came to me and he said that your machines do not have dominion over my life and that he is in control. And after that, she smiled, she grabbed her purse, and then she walked back out. And I tell you that story to say this. Anything you want to do, anything you go through, or anything you want to be, if you do not have faith the size of a mustard seed, you're going to fail. If you do not keep your faith unwavered, you're going to fail. If you do not believe in God with all your might and all your heart, you're going to fail. So make sure that your faith never wavers, and make sure that you listen to what's speaking to your heart and that you pay attention to the vision that he's sending you. And that is the only way you will possibly accomplish having your dreams filled with faith.